Hello everyone, I'm Abhinav Gupta, founder of depX, and today we'll take a look at how to set up and use depX. We will go through all the steps starting with the first time setup and then we'll move on to the working. Alright, let's begin. First we have to go through this GitHub repo. The link is in the description. You can go through the installation steps for Windows and Linux in the README section, or you can download the executable directly from the releases tab. I already have this tar file downloaded, so I'm not going to do it again, but this is where you click in order to download it. First, we have to extract the tar file, and now we can run the executable. I just want you to know that the steps for Windows are almost identical. We have 5 options in front of us. The first option is the main option that we're going to be using today. Other than that, you can set your AWS credentials file path manually. You can list out all the stored values. So basically the values for all the resources that you created. And you can also clean up, which basically means that you can delete all the resources that this script generated. Let's start with option number 1. It's prompting me to enter my credentials file path. Now this will be the file path to where my AWS permanent credentials are stored. If I put that in, it's going to first check the validity of the credentials, and then it's going to prompt me to enter my email address. Now this will be the username for AWS Cognito. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to just enter test@gmail.com, but this is supposed to be your own email address. For the password is supposed to be 8 characters long minimum and have an uppercase, a lowercase, a special character, and a number. Once that's done, you can see that we are creating some resources. For those of you who are unfamiliar with AWS Cognito, I will link the relevant documentation in the description, but I'll just go through them one by one. First, we create a user pool, and inside that, we create a client and a domain. Then, using these credentials that we just entered, the email address and the password, we're going to create a user. After that, we're going to create an identity pool from the user pool ID. We are also going to create an IAM role. We're going to create a policy that has all the permissions that depX will require in order to access your AWS resources. And we're going to attach that policy to the role. And then we're going to attach that role to the identity pool where your identity or your user's identity exists. Do not forget to change the permissions of the default EC2 key pair that has been generated here. You can just run this command directly. For now we are done. We can just exit out of here. We have these IDs right here, which we're going to require in the next section. Now we can come to the website. You can click on the login page. Here you're going to be prompted to enter your depX username and password. You can only get these credentials if you have registered through the get access link on our website. On this page, it's going to prompt us to enter all the IDs we just generated. It's going to redirect us to the Amazon Cognito login page now. This is where you enter the username and password you just generated. These credentials will be used to generate temporary AWS credentials that can be used by depX to create AWS resources. On this page, you can just start talking to depX. You can start off by saying a simple hello. It's going to talk to you like a simple AI assistant. You can ask, what can you do for me? If you want to know all the actions that depX can take. It's going to list out all the actions that are available right now. The list of actions are fairly limited, but eventually we'll increase them with time. Let's say that you want to create an EC2 instance. You need certain parameters, right? So what are those parameters? You can just ask depX, what information do you need to create an instance? It's going to list out all the parameters that you can pass to depX in order to create an instance. Now, all of these parameters are not mandatory. Only the storage and the type are mandatory. The rest of the parameters have default values, and that will be the values that will be taken in case you don't pass them. You can come to the documentation, which will be linked in the description below if you want to know all the default parameters and the default values and the mandatory parameters. Let's say that you want to create an instance using just the mandatory parameters. So if we say create an EC2 instance with 20 GB storage and size T2 micro. Now, the thing to bear in mind here is that under the free tier, you only get up to 30 GB of storage and up to T2 micro, and in some locations, T3 micro. I can come to the instances page here. You can see there are no instances running. Oh, okay. So the zone where I am in does not allow T2 micro. So I need to enter T3 micro. As soon as this command runs, or rather, as soon as this prompt runs, it's going to tell you that it has created an instance with this ID. And if we come back to the instances page, you will see that it has created an instance. You can see the name is depX created EC2 instance because this is the default name in the documentation. Let's say that if you want to stop the instance, as you can see in the list of actions, you can stop the instance. So if I ask depX to stop instance, this, it's going to stop it for me. As soon as I get the confirmation, I'm going to go to the instances page. And here you can see the instance has been stopped. Other than that, you can go through all the actions. You can go through the documentation as well in order to see what are the example prompts. You can also go through the documentation to check what are the mandatory parameters and what are the optional parameters and what are the values for those optional parameters. If you have any issues or if you face any problems, feel free to reach out to me over Twitter or LinkedIn. I will link them in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching.